And I just saw that I was muted here for hold on over on Facebook. So hold on a minute. But yes, it's like fear, it all the check marks, anger, check mark, disgust, check mark, sadness, check mark, check mark, check mark, check, check, check. Right? And now that you're stuck, how do you get out? How do you get unstuck? If you're going through one of the big 6 emotions, you're really not in a place to will do anything much of value. And so today, I'm going to share with you some specific steps that's going to help you move from one of those big 6 emotions to a state of joy so that you can get your life back and experience lasting emotional wellness. Now, if you were here with me a couple of weeks ago, we kind of named these big 6 emotions and how they can actually help us and how they can actually benefit us. But today we're going to move beyond that, and we're going to talk about how we can actually get unstuck from those and how to return to joy, just like in the Inside Out movie. Yes, have you guys seen that movie? Tell me, what was your favorite part in that movie, or like your biggest aha moment from the Inside Out movie? And if you're new to joining me, my name is Amy Miller. I'm a wellness advocate and a business coach, and I help fellow SLPs and therapists return to joy in their business and in their life and in their parenting. And I personally have been on a spiritual journey since I was about 10 years old. And I've discovered some of the most powerful tools over the last couple of years that I've ever crossed in my life for connecting with God on a deeply spiritual level and to grow in my emotional wellness. So we've talked a year or so ago, a while back, we talked about true change, that true change really comes from the inside out. And before we dig into some of these things and some of those big 6 emotions and how we can get, if you are new, if you are joining me after the live is over, welcome to you. Give me some love, give me some hearts. It helps us kind of engage here as a community. And so I'm so glad you're joining me today. And we love to learn out loud here on Free Friday. So yes, so today we are going to be free from all the things. We're going to be free from being stuck, free from feeling like we're in bondage, free from barriers, free to live and free to return to joy, free to be well, experiencing true freedom. Raise your hand if that sounds like where you want to be. Yes, I know. So now we love to learn out loud here on Free Friday. So if you find yourself having an aha moment or a nugget that you want to hold on to, just type in the words #Free Friday and just share with us, like, what's that nugget that you want to hold on to and share with us. Now, if you would like access to my written notes today, just drop the words return to joy, all one word, to grab my notes so that you don't have to take your own today. Okay. Now, so we've talked about true change coming from the inside out. And unless we experience freedom in our spiritual life, addressing the other areas are just going to act like a Band-Aid. And Jesus is the only one who brings true lasting change. And yes, I'm going to go there with the name Jesus because that's where you can experience true joy. Not just this happiness that changes with the fleeting or our emotions that come and go, but actually true lasting change. So I'm going to briefly go over what I call the big 6 emotions. And I don't call them negative emotions because they're big. Okay. And they serve a purpose in our lives. So I don't want to call them negative emotions. We're just going to focus on them being big emotions. So just as a reminder. So the first one is sadness. And that is when we're saying to ourselves, I've lost some of my life. And then the next one is anger. And that's where we're saying to ourselves, I need to protect myself and make something stop. Okay. The third one is fear. And that's where we're saying, I want to get away, or I need to get away. The fourth one is disgust. And that's where we say to ourselves, this is not life giving. Okay. Or maybe we're experiencing shame. And that's when we're saying, I'm not bringing you joy. You are not glad to be with me. Or maybe we're experiencing hopeless despair. And that's when we're saying, I lack the resources that I need for this. So, how many of you have experienced one of these this week, or this day, or maybe multiple already today? It's okay. I've been there too. So yes, drop below which one or ones of these you've experienced, maybe even today or this week. Because we're going to figure out how to get unstuck. Now, while parts of your life have begun to look like a bad movie, your kids aren't going to let you off the hook. You still have to show up and get things done. You still have to parent your kids. You still have to serve your clients and be a productive part of your community. So let's look at some tools that can help you move from emotionally struggling back to joy. So are you ready to take back control of your emotions? Yeah? Okay, I'm going to read a statement to you, and I want you to tell me what your thoughts are about this statement. Okay, are you ready? Okay, the statement is, you can't be spiritually mature unless you are emotionally mature. It's an interesting statement. You can't be spiritually mature unless you are emotionally mature. Tell me what your thoughts are when you hear that statement while I drink some of my water. And then I want you to think about, have you ever been stuck in one of these big six emotions? What was it like for you? Think through some of those things. Maybe if you're stuck in one right now, what is it like feeling stuck in fear, or feeling stuck in anger, feeling stuck in shame? And let's go back to that statement then, that you can't be spiritually mature unless you're emotionally mature. So the Bible says they will know us by our love. And we can't be loving God or other people when we are getting stuck in one of these big six emotions. So let's talk about it this way. So the right side of your brain, known as the feeling brain, works faster than the left side of your brain, also known as the thinking brain. So you experience emotions before you are thinking it through. So if you remember back when we did a live about protecting our children's brains and pornography, we talked a bit about this. And the amygdala of our brain is responsible for if we are in fight or flight or freeze mode. And we physically cannot operate out of love when we're operating out of the amygdala. Literally, our relational circuits have been turned off. And when our relational circuits are cut off, the best way to get them back on and to get the two sides of the brain back in sync is through appreciation or gratitude. Now, as you're processing through some of those things, how do we get unstuck? Well, think about this. The second greatest commandment that God ever gave is love your neighbor as yourself. We are not able to love other people when we're operating out of one of the big six. Our relational circuits in our brain have actually been shut off. So how do we get unstuck? How do we return to joy. Now, again, if you're just joining and you want access to the written notes from this today, just drop the words return to joy, all one word, and you can grab those notes so that you don't have to take them yourself. But as we're thinking through some of these things, I have to be talking about our spiritual self because it's directly tied to our emotional well-being. So the first thing I want you to think about when you're stuck in one of the big six is the thing is not the thing. Now, if you are a Christian, we're called to regulate these emotions by the power of God's Spirit living in us, or the Holy Spirit. That's God's Spirit that lives within every person who has given their lives to Jesus. So the first thing is to recognize that we're experiencing a big emotion. Call it out. Sometimes we're stuck in one of these and we don't even realize what that big emotion is. We've got to name it. It's something that you can begin teaching your kids as well, especially boys. They have a harder time naming those specific emotions and where they are in it. So we can't deny the existence of the emotion. So just saying, I'm experiencing fear right now is very powerful by calling out what you're experiencing because it helps your brain register what's happening. Then number 2 is you want to get perspective. Be open to the possibility that we can be out of the hopeless despair. We can be out of the anger. And then invite God into the situation. He exists and he cares. And it can be simply something, God, would you help me? God, would you help me? And then number 4 is you want to give appreciation or gratitude. So think of something that you can give appreciation for or gratitude in that moment. And then number 5 is you want to remember a story of how you were able to recover from a big emotion in the past. So think of a time in your life when you've recovered from sadness. It can give you hope. And then name the emotion again and share it with someone else. That is key. When you tell your story at least 3 times, it synchronizes the left and the right brain. That's brain science for you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to practice what I tell you guys. I don't share any things that I'm not already practicing myself. I'm going to share my story of fear. Because when you tell your story, it helps synchronize your left and your right brain. And remember, when your left and right brain are in sync, you're more able to have those relational circuits turned on and you're able to love others. You're able to love God and love others better. So I'm going to share my story of fear. It's a simple one, but it shows you these steps and how I returned to joy. Okay. So, back when I was around 13 years old, my parents threw a big party, and I was able to party at our house to celebrate my 13th birthday. So there were all these 13-year-old girls. I don't know what got into their minds to possess them to do this, but they also set it up during the night of the party that we were going to watch kind of a scary movie, and they had rigged it so that the power would go out, and they had set it up so our neighbors would come by and be shadows in the window and look like figures that we could see outside. Okay. I know, crazy. But imagine a 13-year-old girl with a bunch of other 13-year-old girls, and we're watching this scary movie, and right at the scary moment, the power goes out. So the entire lights, everything goes out. And we had these big windows in our living room area at the time where you could see the light, and you could see these 2 figures. They were under sheets and you could see them moving. Well, and you can imagine there were 13-year-old girls everywhere screaming. And I remember thinking, I'm so scared. I am feeling fear right now. And and as crazy it may seem, I was able to get perspective, at least thinking that somehow I could get out of this. And I invited God into the situation. I literally did. I remember grabbing my friend Julie's hand next to me and another friend to the left of me. And I grabbed their hands and I pulled them close to me and I said, we've got to pray. And because at the time, I'm thinking the world is ending here. I'm so afraid. And I don't even know what I prayed, but it was simple because I was so in fear. So I remember just saying, God, help us. And I was so thankful. I gave appreciation, gratitude at the next moment, not realizing it, because my dad had these lights that were plugged into the wall that would only come on if the power went out. And so there was this tiny light I could see kind of gleaming down under the couch. And I remember thinking, oh, thank you. We've got a little bit of light. And so I'm remembering this story and I'm sharing it with you because I knew that I was able to return to joy after experiencing fear. Now, again, it's a simple story and it doesn't have to be one that is super deep. But yes, this party, Jim says, I know. I know. So long story short, our neighbors ended up coming into the house and telling us what had happened. And of course, all the world was right again. But at the moment that you're experiencing that one of those big six emotions, you are trying to figure out, number one, what is it I'm in? Am I experiencing fear, anger, sadness, disgust, shame, hopeless despair? And then how do I get out of this? So I want to tell you, a mature brain can actually return to normal synchronicity in 90 seconds. That brain has been able to regulate the sadness, that they've seen the emotion as an opportunity to grow. And so I want to invite you this week to think of a time that you've experienced one of the big six and how you return to joy. And then I want you to share it with someone else. Ideally, write it out first so that you can kind of stay succinct and just kind of not go out willy-nilly where they're standing there for an hour with you telling them this story. And don't make it super intense so that other people are uncomfortable. If you're going to share a story about how you return to joy from hopeless despair, maybe make it something where it's not so intense that the other person is very uncomfortable listening to the story. So I'm about to sign off here. Thank you so much for joining me this week. You all are worth the investment. And so I will join you back here next week. Again, if you want access to the written notes or access to when I shared a couple of weeks ago about the big six emotion and how they can actually benefit us, just drop the words return to joy and you can grab my notes. Okay. Thanks so much for joining me, you guys. See you next week. Bye.